In the wild, life unfolds as a relentless, untamed struggle for survival. Every moment is a test, every shadow a potential threat, and every heartbeat a reminder of nature's unforgiving laws. The wilderness is a place of breathtaking beauty and raw brutality, where the balance between predator and prey is maintained by instinct, strength, and sometimes sheer luck. Yet there are moments when fate deals a hand so cruel, so overwhelming, that even the most resilient animal finds itself utterly powerless. A leg ensnared in a hidden trap, a wing broken by a sudden storm, or a body pinned beneath the crushing coils of a predator. These are the moments when the wild's indifference becomes a desperate plea for help. It is in these moments that we, as humans, are faced with a profound choice. Standing at the edge of the wild, we become witnesses to suffering that is both ancient and immediate. The decision before us is simple, yet deeply significant. We can choose to avert our eyes, to let nature take its course, or we can step forward, bridging the gap between species with courage and empathy. To reach out and help is to perform an act of quiet heroism. It is a decision that echoes with compassion, a testament to the best parts of our nature. In that moment of contact, when a gentle hand meets trembling fur or feathers, there's a silent understanding. It is a connection that transcends language, a recognition of shared vulnerability and hope. Animal rescue is not merely the act of saving a life. It is a reaffirmation of our own humanity. It is a declaration that we are not just bystanders in the story of the natural world, but guardians entrusted with its care. Empathy in these moments becomes a force more powerful than any physical strength. It bridges the divide between species, proving that kindness is a language understood by all living beings. Every rescue is a story of hope, a defiant stand against the odds, a refusal to let suffering go unanswered. Each mission is a testament to the belief that every life, no matter how small or wild, is precious. Whether it's a cherished horse grazing in the golden light of dawn or a mighty elephant wandering the vast savanna, every creature's existence is a thread in the intricate tapestry of life. These acts of rescue ripple outward, inspiring awe and admiration in all who witness them. They remind us of the profound impact a single act of compassion can have, not just on the animal saved, but on everyone who sees it. In the presence of suffering, we are given the chance to act. To kneel beside a wounded creature, to offer comfort and hope, is to embrace our role as stewards of the earth. The world of animal rescue is built on teamwork, quick thinking, and unwavering resolve. Rescue teams move with purpose, navigating treacherous terrain and unpredictable dangers, united by a single goal: to save a life. These rescuers face peril not for recognition but out of a deep sense of duty. They stand between danger and the defenseless, risking their own safety for the sake of another being. The impact of their bravery is felt far beyond the moment of rescue. Witnesses are moved, hearts are changed, and a ripple of compassion spreads through communities. The stories you are about to experience are not just tales, they are living testaments to the power of empathy and action. Each page turned, each image seen, is a window into a world where hope triumphs over despair. These are stories of titanic struggles, of predators and prey locked in primal conflict, of life and death hanging in the balance. While the scenes you see are brought to life with advanced AI, they are rooted in the very real dangers that animals face every day. From hidden snares to sudden floods, the threats are as varied as they are relentless. Rescuers must overcome daunting obstacles, raging rivers, dense forests, and the unpredictable behavior of frightened animals. Each challenge demands ingenuity, patience, and unwavering resolve. Imagine the immense strength of a python, its coils tightening with relentless force, a living trap from which escape seems impossible. Or the sheer scale of a massive animal in peril, its size both a source of majesty and vulnerability, requiring careful strategy and respect. Each rescue is a puzzle, demanding a unique blend of courage, knowledge, and creative problem-solving. Teams must adapt, inventing new methods and tools on the fly. These stories are a tribute to the real-life heroes, men who dedicate their lives to the cause of animal rescue. Their faces, marked by sun and sweat, tell stories of sacrifice and triumph. Let us step into these moments of crisis and courage where the outcome is uncertain and every second counts. Often it is the ordinary man who becomes the first link in the chain of rescue, a sharp eye spotting trouble, a quick call for help, a willingness to act. The tools of rescue are as varied as the challenges faced. Sometimes a simple lever is all that stands between life and death, wielded with skill and determination. At other times, specialized sprays and equipment are deployed, designed to subdue or free without causing harm, a testament to the ingenuity of those who refuse to give up. Each successful rescue is a triumph of will and heart. The sight of a determined rescuer carrying an animal to safety, the relief and joy that follows, is a moment of pure, unfiltered hope. In the end, we are reminded that we hold the power to tip the scales from tragedy to survival, from despair to a second chance. With every act of rescue, we give these magnificent creatures the gift of life, and in doing so, we reaffirm our own place as stewards of this wild, wondrous world. The afternoon at High Plains Ranch was painted in gold, sunlight spilling across rolling hills and casting long, drowsy shadows over the pasture. The air was warm and still, carrying the faint scent of wildflowers and sun-baked earth. In the distance, a gentle breeze rustled the tall grass, and the only sounds were the soft, rhythmic chewing of horses as they grazed contentedly, their tails flicking lazily at flies. The herd moved as one, a living tapestry of chestnut, bay, and dappled grey, each animal at ease in the afternoon calm. But the tranquility was fragile, a thin veil stretched over the land, waiting to be torn. Among the horses, a subtle tension began to ripple. There was a gap in the herd, a space where a familiar figure should have stood. The absence was like a missing note in a song, unsettling and wrong. Diamonds, the pride of the ranch, was nowhere to be seen. Her coat, usually gleaming in the sunlight, was missing from the patchwork of colours in the field. The other horses seemed restless, shifting their weight and glancing towards the western edge of the pasture as if sensing something amiss. The name Diamonds echoed across the open land, but only silence answered. The stillness was heavy, pressing down on the earth, thick with the promise of danger. The silence was unnatural, broken only by the distant call of a hawk and the nervous snorts of the remaining horses. Something was terribly wrong. A sense of dread crept over the pasture, as if the land itself was holding its breath. The horses shifted uneasily, their ears flicking back and forth, nostrils flaring as they caught a scent on the wind. The search led to the edge of a steep, rocky ravine that cut through the far side of the ranch like a scar. The ground here was rough and uneven, scattered with loose stones and tangled brush. Peering down into the shadows, the scene below was a nightmare made real. The ravine was deep, its walls jagged and cold, the bottom shrouded in darkness and fear. There at the bottom lay Diamonds. Her powerful body was twisted and pinned, her legs tangled awkwardly among the rocks. Her eyes rolled with panic, and her chest heaved with every desperate breath. Wrapped around her, like a living nightmare, was a colossal anaconda. Its scales glistened in the dim light, and its immense body was coiled tightly around the mare's torso, each muscle flexing with terrifying strength. Diamonds struggled weakly, her nostrils flaring, eyes wide with terror. Her breaths came in ragged, shallow gasps, each one a battle against the crushing force of the snake. The anaconda's coils were monstrous, as thick as tree trunks, and they pulsed with raw power. The snake's head hovered nearby, tongue flicking, eyes cold and unblinking. Diamond's struggles grew weaker, her strength fading as the snake's grip tightened. The fight for life was slipping away second by agonizing second. In the chaos, a call for help was made, fingers trembling as the emergency number was dialed. The message was urgent, the words tumbling out in disbelief. A horse was being attacked by a giant snake. The dispatcher on the other end struggled to comprehend the situation, but the desperation in the caller's voice was unmistakable. Help was promised, and the call ended with a plea for speed. The reality was almost too much to believe. A horse, a beloved animal, was being crushed by an anaconda in the heart of the American plains. The moments that followed were filled with dread. Every second felt like an eternity, the only movement the slow, relentless tightening of the snake and the weakening struggles of diamonds below. In the distance, the wail of sirens cut through the stillness, a promise of hope racing toward the ranch. The animal rescue team was on its way, their vehicle a blur of urgency against the golden landscape. Time seemed to slow, the world narrowing to the ravine and the desperate struggle unfolding within it. The air was thick with suspense, every heartbeat echoing the urgency of the moment. From above, the scene was haunting, diamonds pinned and gasping, the snake's massive body a dark shadow against her shining coat. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows over the ravine. Every strained movement from diamonds sent a ripple of fear through the watching herd above, their eyes wide and ears pricked, sensing the danger below. The arrival of the rescue vehicle shattered the tension. Doors flew open and the team leapt into action, their faces set with determination. Clad in heavy-duty gear, the rescuers quickly assessed the perilous scene from above, their eyes scanning the ravine, calculating every risk. Ropes and harnesses were readied with practiced speed. The team knew that every second counted. The mare's life hung in the balance. The pressure from the snake's coils was not just painful, it was suffocating, threatening to crush bones and organs with every passing moment. The lead rescuer took charge, outlining a plan with swift, clear gestures. The team would need to descend into the ravine, distract the snake and free the mare, all without provoking the serpent into tightening its deadly grip. The first challenge was getting down safely. Ropes were anchored, and the team rappelled into the rocky depths, every movement deliberate and cautious. The second, far more dangerous challenge was confronting the gigantic serpent. The rescuers moved with tense precision, ready to intervene, their eyes locked on the snake as it watched them with cold reptilian patience. The race against time had officially begun. Every second was a battle, every breath a gamble, as the team fought to save diamonds from the shadow in the ravine. The rescue team, all men clad in heavy-duty protective gear, began their descent into the jagged ravine. Each step was deliberate, boots crunching on loose gravel as they navigated the treacherous terrain with ropes and carabiners, their faces set with grim determination. At the base, the men quickly huddled, voices low and urgent as they reviewed their options. Plan A was simple in concept but daunting in execution. They would attempt to physically uncoil the massive snake from the horse using sheer strength and coordination. The anaconda's body was a living vice, its head and tail buried deep beneath its own coils. The men studied the situation, noting the snake's grip around the mare's chest and hindquarters, its scales glistening with tension. 4 rescuers took their positions, each man grasping a section of the snake's thick, muscular body, their gloves strained against the reptile's unyielding strength, sweat beading on their brows despite the cool canyon air. With a synchronized count, they heaved, muscles flexing as they tried to pry the coils apart. The ground shifted beneath them, boots slipping on the unstable dirt and jagged rocks, but they held fast, grunting with effort. The snake's body was unyielding, like a steel cable under tension, fingers dug in, knuckles whitening, but the anaconda's grip did not budge. The anaconda's power was staggering. It seemed almost indifferent to the men's efforts, its muscles flexing in response, tightening its hold even further. The mare Diamonds let out a deep guttural groan, her eyes wide with pain and fear, as the snake's coils pressed harder against her ribs. The rescuers exchanged worried glances, the urgency of the situation etched on their faces. Realizing brute force alone would not prevail, the team leader, a seasoned field veteran, signaled for an immediate change of tactics. Plan B was to be enacted without delay. The men regrouped, this time focusing on a more technical approach. They retrieved a specialized canister from their equipment pack, designed specifically for reptile emergencies. One rescuer, hands steady despite the tension, readied the canister, a reptile-safe irritant formulated to target the snake's sensitive olfactory system without causing lasting harm. The label on the canister was clear: for emergency use only, non-toxic, reptile-safe. The men double-checked the nozzle, ensuring the spray would be directed only at the snake. Their goal was precise: to make the snake's position so uncomfortable that it would voluntarily release its grip, all without inflicting injury. The team stepped back, clearing a path for the designated sprayer. He knelt, lining up his shot, careful to avoid the horse's face and eyes. With a steady hand he released a fine mist of the irritant near the anaconda's head, the spray drifting over its nostrils and tongue. The effect was immediate. The snake's head jerked back, its tongue flicking rapidly as it registered the unpleasant sensation. The anaconda recoiled, its massive head pulling away from the horse, muscles rippling beneath its patterned skin. The snake's body undulated, scales shifting as it began to loosen its grip, the irritant clearly working as intended. Agitated and desperate to escape the noxious mist, the anaconda's coils began to slacken, its body unwinding from the mare's battered frame. In slow, deliberate movements, the snake released the horse, coil by powerful coil, its immense body sliding away from the animal. The men stood tense and ready, eyes fixed on the snake, prepared to intervene if it lashed out in panic. But the anaconda, more interested in escape than confrontation, slid away into the shadowy crevices of the ravine, vanishing from sight. Instantly the team rushed to Diamond's side, their focus shifting from reptile to equine. The mare lay on her side, flanks heaving, nostrils flaring as she gulped in air. Dirt and sweat streaked her coat, but her eyes were alert. She was alive. The on-site veterinarian, a burly man with years of field experience, knelt beside her, running practiced hands over her legs and ribs. No fractures, but deep bruises and clear signs of shock. The men spoke to her in calm, steady voices, gently fitting a supportive harness around her chest. With a coordinated lift, they helped the trembling mare to her feet, careful not to rush her. Though battered and shaken, Diamond stood, supported by the men who had risked everything to save her. The ordeal was over, but the journey to full recovery was just beginning. The coastline was a wild, relentless place, where the wind howled and the ocean battered the rocks with ceaseless fury. Salt spray hung in the air, stinging the eyes and chilling the skin, while gulls wheeled overhead, their cries lost in the roar of the surf. It was a landscape both beautiful and unforgiving, a place where survival was never guaranteed. On this desolate stretch of shore, Ben Carter walked alone, his boots crunching over wet stones. He relished the solitude, the sense of being at the edge of the world, until a strange, desperate sound cut through the wind. He turned, heart pounding, and saw a scene that would haunt him forever. Wedged between slick black rocks, a tiny seal pup fought for its life. Its fur was slicked down by seawater, eyes wide with terror, flippers thrashing helplessly against the stone. Each breath came in ragged gasps, its cries thin and desperate, barely audible above the crashing surf. The threat was not from the sea, but from the land. A predator out of place, yet deadly all the same. A massive python, its scales glistening with moisture, had coiled itself around the pup. The snake's body was a living vice, tightening with every frantic movement of its prey. The seal pup's eyes rolled in panic, its mouth opening in silent screams as the pressure increased. The pup's world was reduced to pain and fear. It twisted, flippers, scraping uselessly at the rocks, its cries growing weaker as the snake's grip stole the air from its lungs. The ocean, so close, offered no refuge, only the relentless sound of waves, indifferent to its suffering. Ben stood rooted to the spot, horror and disbelief warring on his face. The sight of the helpless pup, the alien presence of the python, it was a nightmare made real. For a moment he could do nothing but watch, heart hammering in his chest. Instinct screamed at him to help, but reason held him back. The python was immense, its muscles rippling with lethal power. One wrong move could doom the pup, or himself. Ben's hands shook as he weighed his options, the urgency of the moment pressing in on all sides. He retreated to a safe distance, fumbling for his phone. His voice trembled as he described the scene to emergency services: a python, a seal pup, a race against time on a lonely shore. Every second felt like an eternity. Ben returned, keeping a careful watch from afar. He could do nothing but bear witness, his presence a silent promise to the suffering animal that it was not alone. The python's coils tightened, the seal pup's struggles growing feebler with each passing moment, its eyes, once bright with terror, now glazed with exhaustion. The world seemed to narrow to this single desperate battle, life and death balanced on a knife's edge. Suddenly, hope arrived in the form of a rescue team, men in sturdy boots and weathered jackets, moving with purpose across the rocks. Their faces were set with grim determination, their eyes scanning the scene with practiced urgency. The rescuers took in the situation at a glance: the massive snake, the fading pup, the treacherous terrain. Every movement was calculated, every word spoken in low, steady tones. They knew the risks, but there was no hesitation. Their first priority was clear: free the pup without provoking the python. They gathered close, heads bent together, voices hushed, as they devised a plan. The tension was palpable, every second precious. A direct confrontation would be too dangerous. The python's strength was formidable, and a struggle could end in tragedy for both animals. The team exchanged glances, silent agreement passing between them. Instead, they prepared a chemical deterrent, a spray designed to irritate, not harm. One man checked the canister, his hand steady despite the gravity of the moment. With slow, deliberate steps, a rescuer approached the entangled pair, his breath fogged in the cold air, every muscle tense as he raised the canister, aiming carefully at the python's head. The rest of the team stood ready, nets and poles in hand, prepared to act the instant the snake released its grip. Their eyes never left the struggling animals, every sense alert. The rescuer squeezed the trigger, sending a sharp burst of irritant toward the python's face. The hiss of the spray was almost lost in the wind, but its effect was immediate. The snake recoiled, its coils loosening as it tried to escape the stinging cloud. For a heartbeat, time seemed to stop. Then, with a sudden, sinuous motion, the python began to unwind from the pup. Freed from the crushing embrace, the seal pup collapsed onto the rocks, gasping for breath. The python, desperate to escape the fumes, slithered away, its massive body disappearing into the tangled brush at the edge of the beach. The snake vanished into the undergrowth, leaving only the battered pup and the men who had risked everything to save it. The rescuers gathered around the pup, their faces etched with concern. The little animal trembled uncontrollably, its sides heaving as it struggled to recover from the ordeal. One of the men, a veterinarian, knelt beside the pup. He spoke in a low, gentle voice, his hands slow and careful as he checked for injuries. The pup's eyes flickered with fear, but the calm presence of the rescuer seemed to ease its terror, if only a little. The immediate danger had passed, but the pup's journey was far from over. Exhausted and shaken, it lay on the cold rocks, surrounded by the men who had fought so hard to give it another chance at life. On that lonely shore, hope had triumphed, if only for a moment, over the wild, indifferent forces of nature. Deep in the heart of the African savannah, where the golden grass stretches endlessly beneath a blazing sun, a distress call shattered the morning calm. It was urgent, and at first a bit perplexing. Something was terribly wrong at one of the region's vital watering holes. A spotter plane circling high above the shimmering plains had reported a scene of chaos. Hippos and zebras clustered near the water's edge, their usual calm replaced by agitation and fear. The coordinates were relayed, 28.934 north, setting the rescue in motion. An emergency response team, all men, was dispatched by helicopter, their faces set with determination as they scanned the wild landscape below, uncertain of what awaited them. As the chopper swept over the designated area, the source of the commotion became horrifyingly clear. A life-and-death struggle was unfolding in the mud below. There, in the thick, sun-baked mud, a young hippopotamus, normally a symbol of raw power, lay utterly helpless, its massive frame writhing in distress. Coiled around the hippo was a python of monstrous proportions, its muscular body glistening in the harsh light, every coil a death sentence, tightening with each passing second. The hippo, on its side, kicked out with legs that could shatter bone, but now only managed feeble, desperate movements. Its eyes rolled in terror, nostrils flaring as it fought for every breath. The python's coils dug deep into the hippo's thick hide, compressing its massive chest, lungs built for holding breath underwater, now rendered useless by the relentless pressure. The rescue team could see the animal's sides heaving, its breathing ragged and shallow. The heat, the mud, and the sheer weight of the python all conspired against the hippo's survival. This was a critical situation. The men knew that every second counted, and the environment itself was a formidable adversary. Scorching sun, thick mud, and the ever-present threat of other predators drawn by the commotion. A hippopotamus is a formidable beast, but against the silent, crushing force of a giant python, even this titan of the river was losing ground. The struggle had drawn the attention of scavengers and predators alike, adding to the urgency. The team landed a safe distance away, the helicopter's rotors sending dust and debris swirling. They quickly assembled, formulating a plan as they surveyed the daunting scene. They needed to act fast. Every moment the python's grip remained unbroken brought the hippo closer to suffocation or catastrophic internal injuries. The men's voices were tense, their movements precise and practiced. The sheer scale of the animals made the rescue a logistical nightmare. The men were dwarfed by the massive bodies before them, the savannah stretching endlessly around this desperate tableau. Their first approach, Plan A, was to use long, sturdy poles as levers. The men gripped the poles tightly, mud splattering as they maneuvered into position. They wedged the poles between the python's iron coils and the hippo's tough hide, straining with all their might to create enough space to break the snake's hold. 4 men pushed and pulled, their muscles trembling with exertion, but the python's grip was unyielding, a living vice that refused to budge. The snake's muscles, honed by years of survival in the wild, were locked tight. The poles bent, but the coils did not loosen. The hippo's grunts grew weaker, its massive body shuddering with each labored breath. The men exchanged worried glances. Time was running out. Plan B was to use a CO2 fire extinguisher. The intense cold could sometimes shock a reptile into releasing its grip. The men readied the extinguisher, aiming carefully. A short icy blast struck the python's midsection, but the snake barely reacted. Its focus was absolute, its grip unbroken. With the hippo's breathing now dangerously shallow, the team leader, a man of experience, knew they had to escalate to their final, most drastic measure, Plan C. This plan involved a high-pressure foam spray, a tool designed for extreme situations. The men readied the canister, nerves taut as bowstrings. The foam rapidly expanded, clinging to the python's scales and creating an intensely uncomfortable, disorienting sensation. The snake's body twitched as the sticky substance spread. A rescuer moved in, discharging the foam along the length of the python's body. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The python, now covered in thick white foam, began to thrash and writhe violently, desperate to escape the clinging, suffocating sensation. The snake immediately loosened its coils, releasing the beleaguered hippopotamus. The men quickly moved in, pulling the exhausted animal clear as the python retreated into the tall grass. The great animal gasped for air, its chest heaving as life returned to its massive frame. The men watched in relief as the snake vanished, the savannah once again settling into uneasy silence. The hippo's battle was over, but the memory of this breathless struggle would linger long after the dust had settled. The hippo lay on its side, its massive chest heaving with each laboured breath. The air was thick with tension, every member of the rescue team acutely aware of the stakes. The immediate threat had passed, but the aftermath was sobering. The python's grip had left the young hippo battered and vulnerable. The team's veterinarian, a seasoned expert in wildlife trauma, approached the enormous animal with deliberate caution, his every movement calculated to avoid startling the injured giant. Even in pain, a hippo can be unpredictable and deadly. Yet, as the vet knelt beside it, the hippo's eyes met his, wide, fearful, but somehow trusting. It was as if the animal sensed that these men were here to help. The initial examination confirmed the team's worst fears. The python's constriction had caused severe trauma. The hippo's breathing was stabilizing, but the vet's practiced hands quickly identified several fractured ribs, painful, dangerous injuries for such a large animal. The python's immense strength had left deep bruises and internal injuries, a testament to the raw power of nature's most formidable predators. The team knew that time was critical. The hippo needed to be moved for advanced imaging and intensive care, but moving a creature of this size and fragility is a monumental challenge, requiring not just strength, but ingenuity and teamwork. The men brought in a heavy-duty sling reinforced with industrial-grade canvas and steel rings designed specifically for massive wildlife rescues. With careful coordination, the team rolled the hippo onto the sling, every movement synchronized to minimize pain and risk. Even a young hippo weighs hundreds of kilograms. The men strained together, sweat beading on their brows as they lifted the animal with a mix of brute force and precision. Once secured, the sling was attached to the helicopter's cables, every knot and clasp checked and double-checked for safety. The helicopter's rotors thundered overhead as the hippo was gently lifted from the mud, a living testament to the power of human compassion and technical skill. The sight was unforgettable, a massive animal suspended in midair, carried by the combined efforts of men and machine, all in the name of saving a life. But at the heart of this rescue was a remarkable innovation, the use of specialized foam spray. This wasn't ordinary foam, it was a carefully engineered compound designed to disrupt the python's senses without causing lasting harm. In the past, teams relied on brute force or temperature shocks to break a constrictor's hold, but these methods often failed or risked further injury to the animal in distress. The foam, delivered from a pressurized canister, is formulated to be non-toxic and fast-acting. When sprayed, it creates a dense, cool barrier that overwhelms the snake's heat and chemical receptors. The python, suddenly bombarded by unfamiliar sensations, instinctively releases its grip and retreats, prioritizing its own safety over the hunt. This approach allows rescuers to intervene from a safe distance, reducing the risk of injury to both the team and the animal in peril. The foam's reach and rapid effect are game-changers in high-stakes wildlife emergencies. The decision to use foam is never taken lightly. The team must assess wind, temperature, and proximity, ensuring the foam is deployed with surgical precision. Thanks to this innovative tool, the hippo was freed quickly and with minimal additional trauma, allowing for rapid transport to the sanctuary's medical facility. There, the veterinarians, each a specialist in large animal care, began the painstaking process of managing pain, stabilizing fractures, and monitoring for internal injuries. The days that followed were filled with careful observation, gentle care, and the slow, hopeful progress of healing. Every man on the team played a role, whether monitoring vital signs, preparing medication, or simply offering quiet reassurance to the recovering animal. This rescue was a triumph of innovation, expertise, and heart. The foam spray, born from necessity and refined through experience, gave the team the edge they needed to save a life. In the world of animal rescue, it's not just about strength, it's about using every tool, every ounce of knowledge, and every bit of compassion to make a difference when it matters most. The African savanna stretches endlessly beneath a sky painted with the golds and reds of the setting sun. Here giants roam, none more striking than the giraffe, its long neck rising above the acacia trees, surveying the world from a vantage point few can match. With its immense height and graceful stride, the giraffe seems almost invulnerable, a gentle monarch among the grasslands. But even the tallest and most serene of creatures can be brought low by the hidden dangers of the wild. On a routine patrol, a ranger, his boots crunching softly through the dry grass, spotted a young giraffe, behaving oddly, its movements stiff and uncertain. Instead of browsing high in the trees, the giraffe was sprawled awkwardly on the ground, its long legs twisted beneath it, eyes wide with confusion and fear. As the ranger approached, the giraffe's distress became painfully clear. Its heart pounded, nostrils flaring as it tried to rise, only to be pulled back by an unseen force. A massive python, its scales glinting in the fading light, had wrapped itself around the giraffe's hind leg. The snake's grip was relentless, a living shackle that refused to yield. The giraffe, though not being crushed like smaller prey, was utterly immobilized. Each attempt to stand only tightened the python's hold, sapping the animal's strength and hope. From the giraffe's perspective, panic and exhaustion mingled. Its world had shrunk to the pain in its leg and the weight of the predator clinging to it. Every movement was met with resistance, every effort to escape met with failure. The young animal's eyes darted, searching for help, its breath coming in ragged bursts. It was trapped, helpless and utterly vulnerable. The python, patient and powerful, seemed content to wait, its coils unmoving, its focus absolute. It was a battle of endurance, and the snake was in no hurry. The ranger, recognizing the gravity of the situation, kept his distance. He knew that a frightened giraffe could injure itself further, and the python was a formidable adversary. The tension in the air was palpable. The giraffe's struggles sent dust swirling, while the python's grip only tightened, determined not to lose its hold. The ranger quickly radioed for backup, his voice steady but urgent as he described the rare and dangerous predicament. Soon the rescue team arrived, their vehicle rumbling across the savannah. They assessed the scene from a safe distance, weighing their options. The python, focused solely on its captive, showed little aggression toward the men. This gave the team a crucial advantage. Their first priority was to calm the giraffe. The men moved slowly, hands outstretched, voices low and steady, projecting calm to the terrified animal. The giraffe's ears flicked, nostrils quivering as it sensed the approach of the humans. The men spoke softly, their words meant to reassure, their movements deliberate and non-threatening. The lead rescuer knelt beside the giraffe, studying the python's coils. He knew that any sudden move could provoke the snake or panic the giraffe. Two men, their hands protected by thick gloves, took their positions, one at the python's head, the other at its tail. They exchanged a silent nod, ready to act in perfect unison. With slow, practiced movements, they began to unwind the python, careful not to startle either animal. The snake's muscles tensed, but the men's grip was firm and confident. To their relief, the python offered little resistance, perhaps sensing it was outmatched by the coordinated effort of the rescuers. The snake, now subdued, allowed itself to be lifted away, its body heavy and cool in the men's hands. The python was placed in a secure container, destined for relocation far from the herds and the vulnerable young giraffes of the savannah. With the immediate threat removed, the team turned their full attention to the giraffe, who lay trembling but free. The veterinarian knelt beside the animal, his hands gentle as he examined the injured leg. The giraffe's breathing slowed, its eyes following the man's every move. Deep indentations and swelling marked where the python's coils had pressed into flesh. The giraffe shifted, testing its leg, pain flickering across its face. The pressure had restricted blood flow, leaving the limbs stiff and sore, but a careful examination revealed no broken bones. The rescue had entered its second phase, medical treatment. The men worked quickly, cleaning the wounds and administering medication to reduce swelling and prevent infection. The giraffe, though shaken, stood tall once more, a testament to the resilience of life on the savannah and the dedication of those who protect it. The call that came in was unlike any the team had ever faced. The dispatcher's voice trembled as he relayed the message, an urgent, desperate plea for help from the wild. Somewhere out on the savannah, a life hung in the balance. A mature elephant, the revered matriarch of her herd, had been found alone, her massive form trembling with fear and exhaustion. She was the heart of her family, the one all others followed, and now she was in mortal danger. Coiled around her, a python of monstrous proportions squeezed relentlessly, its muscular body a living vice. The snake's power was terrifying, enough to challenge even the mightiest of land animals. The matriarch fought to remain upright, her legs trembling, her body swaying as she struggled to draw breath. Her eyes, usually so wise and calm, now shone with terror and confusion. The python's coils were locked around her chest and abdomen, crushing the very life from her. The field biologist who found her could barely keep his composure as he called for help, his voice cracking with urgency. Her breathing was ragged, each gasp a battle. The monitors showed her oxygen levels plummeting, her heart racing toward collapse. The call went out, code red. Every second counted. The rescue team, all men hardened by years of crisis, raced to the scene, their faces set with grim determination. Led by a veteran sergeant, the team arrived to a scene of chaos and dread. The air was thick with tension, the only sound the desperate wheezing breaths of the elephant. The matriarch's body shuddered with every breath, her trunk curling weakly as she tried to call out, a low, mournful rumble that seemed to beg for mercy. The python's grip was unyielding, its coils sunk deep into her thick hide. The rescuers could scarcely believe the force they were up against. They had only seconds to act. Every heartbeat was precious, every moment a step closer to tragedy. Plan A was a desperate gamble, a coordinated pull, ropes looped around the python's body, every man straining with all his might. The python barely budged. It was like trying to move a mountain with bare hands. The men grunted and strained, but the snake's grip was absolute. The snake's strength was beyond anything they'd faced. The matriarch's rumbles grew fainter, her trunk now dragging in the dust. Her spirit was fading. The rescuers could feel the weight of her suffering, the silent plea in her eyes. The sergeant signaled for Plan B, the hydraulic spreader, a tool of last resort. It was heavy, unwieldy, but it might be their only hope. With trembling hands they wedged the jaws of the spreader between the python's coils, praying it would be enough to break the snake's hold. It was a perilous move. If the tool slipped, it could wound the elephant. If the snake panicked, it could lash out in fury. The team braced themselves, every muscle tensed for the worst. The python's head hovered, tongue flicking, ready to strike. The spreader groaned under the pressure, but the snake's body was too dense, too powerful. The tool could not break the grip. Suddenly the oxygen monitor blared a critical warning. The matriarch's life was slipping away. They were out of time. The men exchanged desperate glances. Conventional methods had failed. There was only one option left, Plan C. The sergeant's voice rang out, commanding the team to ready the high-pressure foam. With a sense of finality, the foam was unleashed, blanketing the python and the elephant in a thick, disorienting cloud. The effect was instant. The python recoiled, its body convulsing as the foam seeped into its scales. With a violent thrash, the snake released its hold, desperate to escape the suffocating foam. The python vanished into the undergrowth, leaving only chaos and relief in its wake. The matriarch drew a deep, shuddering breath, the first true breath she'd taken in what felt like an eternity. Her eyes closed in exhausted gratitude. Her heart rate slowed. Her oxygen levels began to rise. The men watched, barely daring to hope, as life returned to her massive frame. Against all odds, they had pulled her back from the brink. The team's relief was palpable, their pride hard won. With gentle hands, they bandaged her wounds and steadied her trembling legs. The journey to recovery would be long, but for now, the matriarch was safe, her desperate plea for help answered by the courage and determination of her rescuers. In every corner of the world, stories of animal rescue unfold, each one a testament to the boundless courage and unwavering kindness that define the very best of humanity. From the mare stranded at the edge of a ravine, her fate uncertain, to the mighty elephant in the vast savannah, these moments reveal what is possible when people choose to act, to care, and to hope. These rescues shine a light on the extraordinary spirit that emerges when individuals refuse to turn away from suffering. They remind us that even in the face of overwhelming odds, compassion can triumph. Animal rescue is not simply a job, it is a calling that demands bravery, quick thinking, and a profound sense of responsibility. Rescuers run toward danger, not away from it, driven by a purpose greater than themselves. They stand face to face with powerful predators, not with aggression, but with calm determination and a singular goal: to save a life, no matter the risk. This work is not for the faint of heart. It is for those who believe that every animal, no matter how great or small, deserves a chance to live free from pain and fear. The gentle touch that comforts an injured animal, the steady hands that lift a creature from harm, these are acts of hope, repeated day after day by those who refuse to give up. Teamwork is the heartbeat of every rescue. Success depends on each member doing their part, trusting one another and working in perfect harmony. It begins with this person who first notices an animal in distress and makes the call for help, continues with the dispatcher who coordinates the response, ensuring every second counts, and culminates with the rescuers who brave treacherous terrain and put their own safety on the line to save another life. In the chaos of a rescue, plans can change in an instant. Trust and adaptability are essential as teams adjust and respond to the unexpected with unwavering resolve. Whether using sheer strength, specialized equipment, or innovative treatments, every action is guided by deep respect for the animals in their care. This unity and shared purpose transform moments of despair into stories of survival and hope. The journey does not end when the immediate danger passes. True rescue means ongoing care, compassion, and commitment. The moments after a rescue are just as critical as the rescue itself. Medical checkups, gentle examinations, and careful monitoring ensure that every animal has the best chance at recovery. The careful checkup of a seal pup, the painstaking process of bandaging a giraffe's injured leg, or the complex logistics of airlifting a hippo, each step is a promise to see the rescue through to the very end. Healing is as important as saving. In sanctuaries and recovery centers, animals are nurtured back to health, surrounded by care and patience. This dedication ensures that rescue is not just a fleeting moment, but a true second chance at life. Every step, from crisis to full recovery, is guided by a holistic approach that values the well-being of every animal. These stories of rescue inspire us all, reminding us of the power of unity, courage, and compassion. They are living proof that kindness is a force that can change the world, one life at a time. These moments encourage us to see animals not as distant or separate, but as fellow beings deserving of our protection and respect. The courage of a rescuer, the resolve to face danger for the sake of another, the speed and precision of an emergency response team, and the simple kindness of a helping hand. These are the ingredients that create hope, even in the darkest moments. These stories show us that even when the odds seem insurmountable, a spark of humanity can make all the difference. Through courage, kindness, and hope, we can build a world where every animal has a chance to thrive. In the heart of a dense, ancient forest, a lone wolf finds himself ensnared by a cruel twist of fate. The undergrowth is thick. Gnarled roots and thorny brambles weave a nearly impenetrable web across the forest floor. The wolf's paw is trapped in a rusted snare left behind by a forgotten trapper. His golden eyes dart with fear and pain, breath coming in short, desperate bursts. Every attempt to free himself only tightens the wire, biting deeper into his flesh. The forest is alive with sound. Branches creak overhead, leaves whisper in the wind, and distant crows call out, sensing distress. The wolf's struggle is silent but desperate, muscles trembling with exhaustion. Time slips by and hope begins to fade, but then the crunch of boots on fallen leaves breaks the stillness. Two rescuers, alert and cautious, move through the maze of trees. Guided by the faint trail of disturbed earth and a distant whimper, they press onward, their faces set with determination. The lead rescuer signals to halt, spotting the flash of fur through the undergrowth. They approach slowly, keeping voices low and movements deliberate, careful not to escalate the wolf's panic. One rescuer kneels, maintaining steady eye contact, while the other readies a catchpole and thick blanket. The wolf bares his teeth, a final act of defiance, but exhaustion wins over aggression. Step by step, the rescuers close the gap. The first uses a branch to gently part the brambles, speaking in calm, low tones. The second expertly slips the catchpole around the wolf's neck, not too tight, just enough to prevent sudden lunges. With practiced hands, they cover his eyes with the blanket, easing his terror. Working in tandem, the rescuers examine the trap. The wire is deeply embedded, blood staining the wolf's grey fur. With swift, precise movements, one holds the legs steady while the other uses bolt cutters to snap the wire. The wolf flinches but remains still, sensing help rather than harm. The snare falls away at last. They quickly disinfect and bind the wound, then gently lift the wolf onto a stretcher fashioned from sturdy branches. As they carry him through the forest, shafts of sunlight break through the canopy, illuminating the path to freedom. Back at the edge of the woods, the rescuers release the wolf. He pauses, looking back with a glimmer of gratitude in his eyes before melting into the shadows, free, alive, and given a second chance. This rescue is a testament to perseverance, skill, and empathy, a reminder that even the wildest hearts can be saved when courage and compassion lead the way. The river, once a gentle ribbon winding through the countryside, has become an unstoppable force. Torrential rains have swollen its banks, churning the water into a muddy torrent that rages over rocks and fallen branches. Trees lean precariously, their roots clawing at the eroding earth. In the center of this chaos, perched on a shrinking mound of sodden grass, stands a young stag, his coat slick with rain, eyes wide and wild with fear. The deer trembles, legs splayed for balance as the water laps hungrily at his hooves. Each passing minute the current inches closer, threatening to sweep him away. His nostrils flare, chest heaving with every laboured breath, ears flicking to the deafening roar of the flood. The world has become a blur of grey and brown, the air heavy with the scent of wet earth and panic. On the far bank, two rescuers clad in bright orange rain gear survey the scene. Their faces are shadowed beneath hoods, eyes fixed on the isolated animal. Behind them, a rescue raft churns, tethered to a sturdy tree. The men exchange a silent nod, determination etched in every movement. With practiced urgency, they haul the raft into the surging water, pushing off into the current. Paddles bite into the flood, muscles straining to steer a true course. The river bucks and heaves beneath them, waves slapping at the inflatable sides. Every heartbeat is a contest against the river's fury. As they draw closer, the stag freezes, caught between hope and terror. He stamps the ground, unsure whether to flee or fight. The rescuers move slowly, voices low and steady, trying to project calm above the chaos. One man tosses a rope around a half-submerged tree beside the deer's island, anchoring the raft against the relentless pull. Now within arm's reach, the lead rescuer inches forward, boots sinking into the slippery grass. He stretches out a thick padded harness, speaking in soft, reassuring tones. The deer recoils, legs trembling, but exhaustion and instinct keep him rooted. Gently he loops the harness over the stag's neck and shoulders, careful not to startle. The stag's sides shudder with fear, but the rescuer's hands are steady, movements practiced and kind. Together, the men guide the deer into the raft, supporting his weight as he collapses, spent. The return journey is a battle of willpower and skill. The raft spins and pitches, but the rescuers hold fast, shielding the deer with their bodies. At last they reach the safety of the bank. The stag staggers onto solid ground, legs wobbly but unbroken. He looks back once, eyes meeting those of his rescuers, a silent moment of thanks, before bounding into the shelter of the forest, the storm's rage fading behind him. In the wake of disaster, compassion carves a path to hope. The river's fury is no match for the courage and resolve of those who refuse to look away. High in the jagged embrace of the mountains, where the wind howls like a living thing and clouds cast racing shadows over barren stone, a young eagle finds himself in peril. The sun, veiled by shifting mist, glints off sharp granite ledges and plunging ravines. Below, a sheer drop vanishes into the swirling fog. Above, the world narrows to a lonely outcrop, where the eagle, his feathers mottled with dust, is wedged in a narrow crevice, wings pinned awkwardly between slabs of rock. He calls out, a piercing, desperate cry that echoes through the emptiness. Talons scrape helplessly at the stone, leaving faint scratches in the lichen. Each frantic beat of his wings is met with the cold, unyielding grip of the mountain. The air is thin, filled with the scent of lichen and the distant tang of pine, and the only sounds are the wind's relentless assault and the eagle's fading hope. Far below, two rescuers, faces weathered, eyes sharp with determination, prepare for the daunting ascent. Clad in harnesses and helmets, their packs bristle with ropes, carabiners, and rescue gear. Every movement is deliberate, every knot checked twice. They exchange a brief nod, silent understanding passing between them. There's no margin for error here. The climb is grueling. Muscles burn as they scale the near-vertical face, boots finding purchase on the smallest of ledges. Fingers, numb with cold, work methodically, setting anchors and threading ropes through camming devices. The wind threatens to strip the words from their mouths, but their focus never wavers. At last, one rescuer reaches the ledge where the eagle is trapped. He lowers himself slowly, careful not to dislodge loose stones. The eagle thrashes, eyes wide with terror, but exhaustion has dulled his fight. The rescuer speaks in a low, steady voice, words meant to soothe, even if not understood. He pulls a soft, padded hood from his pack, gently draping it over the eagle's head to calm him and shield his eyes from the chaos. With practiced precision, the rescuer works his hands into the crevice, easing the bird's wings free from the crushing grip of the rock. The eagle's heart pounds wildly beneath his feathers, but the touch is gentle, never hurried. A custom sling is slipped beneath the eagle's body, supporting his fragile frame. The descent is even more treacherous. The rescuer cradles the eagle close, one arm always looped through the safety line. His partner below calls out quiet encouragement, keeping the rope taut, guiding every step. Together they pick their way down the unforgiving cliff, inch by careful inch. At the base, the eagle is checked for injuries, one wing bruised but miraculously unbroken. The rescuers kneel in the gravel, hands steady as they examine each feather, each talon. When the hood is lifted, the eagle blinks, disoriented but alive. For a moment all is still, the wind, the mountain, the world itself holding its breath. Then, with a mighty beat of his wings, the eagle launches skyward, rising above the cliffs that nearly claimed him. He circles once, a lone silhouette against the stormy sky, before disappearing into the wild blue. In this place where earth and sky collide, courage and compassion have given flight to hope. The mountain may be merciless, but the hearts of those who climb it are stronger still. Deep in the forest, where ancient trees cast long shadows and moss carpets the earth in emerald silence, a desperate call pierces the dawn. It's the plaintive cry of a bear cub, lost, frightened, and alone. The sound leads two rescuers, seasoned by years in the wild, to the mouth of a narrow cave half hidden by tangled roots and fallen leaves. Their faces are etched with resolve as they kneel at the entrance, listening to the muffled whimpers echoing from within. The cub, a bundle of trembling fur with wide, fearful eyes, is wedged in a dark crevice far from the light. His paws scrape uselessly at the stone, claws leaving faint grooves in the damp earth. Every breath is laced with panic, each movement hampered by the tight, unforgiving space. The cave is cold and damp, the air thick with the scent of earth and fear. Flickering beams from the rescuers' headlamps illuminate the cub's tiny form, revealing a world of shadows and uncertainty. With methodical care, the men unpack their gear. Ropes, padded harnesses, and soft blankets are laid out on the forest floor. One rescuer, the more slender of the two, volunteers to crawl inside. He ties a safety line around his waist, checks his helmet, and inches forward on his stomach, face set with determination. His partner remains outside, anchoring the rope and monitoring every movement, eyes never leaving the cave's dark mouth. Inside, the rescuer moves slowly, whispering soothing words that echo softly against the stone. The cub's cries grow frantic at first, but the gentle tone and careful movements ease his terror. The man reaches out a gloved hand, offering a morsel of food, sweet berries and soft bread. Hunger overcomes fear, and the cub hesitantly sniffs, then nibbles, trusting just enough. Reassured, the rescuer works a padded harness around the cub's body, careful not to pinch or pull. Every strap is checked, every buckle secured with the utmost gentleness. The cub shivers, but the warmth of the rescuer's hands and the softness of the blanket calm him. Slowly, inch by inch, the man backs out, guiding the cub along the slick tunnel, never rushing, always pausing when the little bear hesitates. Outside, the partner stands ready, reeling in the rope with steady hands. The first glimmer of daylight touches the cub's fur as he emerges, blinking in confusion, nose twitching at the fresh air. Freed from the cave's grip, the cub collapses into the soft moss, exhausted but safe. The men work quickly, checking for injuries. No broken bones, just scrapes and bruises. They offer water and gentle reassurance, their voices low and steady. The cub's breathing slows, and soon he lifts his head, eyes bright with curiosity and trust. When the moment is right, the rescuers step back, watching from a respectful distance. The cub hesitates, then lumbers toward the trees, pausing once to look back, an unspoken thank you in his gaze. He disappears into the green shadows where his mother's call soon welcomes him home. In the quiet that follows, the men pack their gear, their hearts full. Today, in the dark heart of the earth, patience, skill, and compassion have turned fear into freedom. Another life saved, another story of hope written beneath the ancient trees. The sky churns with bruised clouds as thunder rolls across the horizon and waves crash relentlessly against the shore. In the heart of the storm, nature's fury finds a victim, a young dolphin stranded on the wet sand, its sleek body battered by wind and spray. Rain lashes the beach in silver sheets, and the sea, once a sanctuary, now seems impossibly far away. Two rescuers, faces set with determination, move quickly along the shoreline, their boots sinking into the sodden earth. Lightning forks overhead, illuminating the dolphin's desperate struggle, tail thrashing, sleek skin marred by grit and tangled seaweed. The animal's eyes, wide and glassy, flicker with fear and confusion, every breath a shallow gasp in the howling wind. Without hesitation, the men spring into action. One kneels at the dolphin's side, whispering calm words lost to the storm, his hands gentle as he checks for wounds. The other unpacks emergency gear, thick towels, a tarp, and buckets for water. Time is slipping away with the tide, and every second counts. Working in tandem, they drape the dolphin in wet towels to keep its skin moist, dousing it with seawater between gusts. The animal shudders, muscles tensing as another wave of thunder shakes the sky. The rescuers labor on, undeterred, one shielding the dolphin from flying sand, the other digging a shallow trench to cradle its body and keep its blowhole clear. The storm intensifies, wind howling like a living thing, but the men press on, shoulders hunched against the elements. With a final check, they slide the tarp beneath the dolphin, then brace themselves. Muscles straining, they lift together, step by painstaking step toward the surging surf. The rain stings their faces. The sand clings to every inch, but their focus never wavers. At the water's edge, the dolphin senses the nearness of home. Its tail flicks weakly, hope rekindled in its gaze. The rescuers wade into the foaming shallows, cradling the animal as the waves break around them. With a final surge, they guide the dolphin into deeper water, steadying it as it floats, dazed but alive. For a long moment the dolphin hovers beside them, sides heaving, eyes meeting theirs in a silent plea. Then, with a burst of strength, it slips from their grasp, slicing through the wild surf, free at last. The men watch, breathless, as the dolphin's dorsal fin arcs above the waves, vanishing into the storm-tossed sea. Exhausted, soaked to the bone, the rescuers stand together at the edge of the world, hearts pounding beneath the thunder. In the chaos of the storm, they have given hope, a fragile, shining spark. Back to the ocean, another life saved, another story of courage, written in rain and salt and the wild, unyielding heart of the storm.